slamming doors and getting mad and wanting to, and I thought, what do I do? He walked in there thinking he was super smart. If I had to give one advice for when you learn about your child being neurodiverse, we adopted my son. He is an only child. He was 11 months old when we adopted him. I was very successful in my career before that. I was in business management, and it was very challenging, supervising over 300 people. I was very good at people. As customers, employees. I was very good at going into stores that were not doing very well and being able to engage and get all of the employees engaged. And it's interesting, and I say all that because being a parent being good at people at work does not translate into being good at parenting. As soon as the first time I saw Carl, our son, my whole life changed. I was devoted to wanting him to have a happy, fulfilling life. And you're always going to question yourself as a parent. I think every parent does. Am I making the right decisions? And you do a lot of different things to make it happen. And then all of a sudden, you think, am I doing something wrong? Mm-hmm. I remember when he turned 3, our 3-ager. He started slamming doors and getting mad and wanting to, and I thought, what do I do? What happened? I don't know what happened, and how do I handle that? I can't exactly sit with him and have a conversation so he understands what he's doing wrong. So immediately went to go take a parenting class. I asked his grandparents, can you watch him for the weekend? And we took a whole weekend parenting class so we would be able to know how to handle that. I guess my parenting journey has been both beautiful and memorable and challenging, full of doubt, but very full of happy memories.
How old is he right now?
He is turning 14 this month.
So he's in middle school?
He is in middle school.
Wow.
So I decided to retire from my job because I was dropping off Carl at 6:30 in the morning in daycare, and I was picking him up at 6 p.m. at night. 6 p.m. at night, you get home, you cook dinner, you bathe him, and you put him to bed. And then we do it again the next day. And that sometimes I would cry all the way to work because I had dropped him off and he wasn't happy, so David and I had the conversation, and we made the very hard decision of me retiring and becoming a full-time mom, and deciding to do it on one salary. I took 2 years that I just did being a stay-at-home mom, taking Carl to baseball practice, taking him to swimming lessons. He was still in Montessori, actually, at daycare / preschool, which was actually a really good thing for him, and I had him half days in there so he would be able to socialize, because that was very important for me, for him to be able to socialize. And then I decided, because I was always good with kids and I always wanted kids, we had a yard full of toys. I used to buy toys even for my birthday, and everybody would tell me that you have a daycare back here. So I went with it, and I got licensed, and I decided that this was going to help Carl with having kids around, and because he was an only child, so having him with other kids and being able to socialize, and also bringing in a little bit of income, that it was helping out. I thought it was, and all around, it was a great decision to make. There were some pros and there were some cons to that. I didn't realize how time consuming it was going to be. It made it to where I couldn't take Carl to baseball practice. I was taking him to swim lessons on the weekend, which was taking away from what I wanted to do. Yes, I was with him all day long, and he was with other kids, but he wasn't getting to experience some of the other stuff. So if he got sick, I couldn't take him to the doctor right away. I had to work around other parents' schedules. But there were some pros. There was, he found his first best friend in that daycare, and they went everywhere together, and they were very much alike. They love hanging out with each other. I also got to see a lot of the different parenting styles. Was very interesting. So I had, the parents were 3 psychologists and 1 was a nurse. And the psychologists were very focused on their kids learning how to self-soothe. Like I had one tell me, you're going to put her down to bed and you're going to give her her blankie and she's going to cry, Brenda. But you can tell the difference between a cry where there's this need that is really, and you can hear when they are not, they're just wanting you to pick them up. You're gonna have to let her cry. For me to hear a parent telling me it's okay to let them cry, that was eye-opening. And she's telling me, you're gonna make it harder for me if you don't let her cry. Wow. Never did that with Carl. She was also very determined for Amber, was her daughter, for Amber to feel like we were family, because she knew that Amber was spending most of her days with me. Wow. Alana was saying she's spending more time with you awake than she's spending with me. I need you to be her family. I need you to be able to take her to the store, take her to Carl's graduation. She needs to feel that Carl is her brother. I need her to have that family balance. It was mind-blowing for me. It works very well. I remember a psychologist that we took my stepdaughter to saying that we needed to let her go out to the world, that we didn't need to bring the world to her. So one of the things she was talking about was, we're not letting her struggle. Yes, they need their needs met and they need to feel love, cry. It was not meeting their needs. They were going to be more self-efficient, independent, and have a better self-worth if they learned to do things on their own. And I didn't understand that before daycare. I didn't understand how you can raise somebody with a good self-confidence, because I was actually bringing the world to Carl. I was not letting him struggle in any way. And that was very mind-opening for me to see. I had other experiences in the daycare, like even the food they ate, where the nurse was very determined that she wanted them to eat regular food. Don't give them kids' food. So no chicken nuggets, no mac and cheese, no, it was beans, rice, meat, so their palate would grow. The nurse was also not very focused on using medications for anything. She wanted to use essential oils. One got a belly and it was essential oils. She wanted to keep it as natural as possible. And I could see kids that would show up with their seaweed snacks and they loved it. Here I am with Carl and sugar, and I have a video where he was drinking soda and he was only like 3.5, and I'm thinking, what was I thinking? That was a worst mom moment. But I didn't think it through. I just remember growing up and being able to have that during summer, and it's amazing to see the different environments and the different things that parents. There was a lot of good things that came out of that. I talked about that psychologist, Alana, that I took care of her baby, Amber. And she was a lead for an office with a lot of psychologists. She told me one day, we're getting neurofeedback in our offices. It really works well for ADHD. I just want you to know that. I'm not saying Carl has it. Says, but I want you to know that it works really good.
How old was Carl at that time?
I want to say he was about 4.
Wow.
And I felt it. It kind of jabbed my heart when she said that, because she was seeing something that I knew there was something going on with Carl. I couldn't pinpoint it. I mean, very bright boy, very, very smart.
Yeah.
He was doing 14-year-old Lego sets at 5 years old. Mm-hmm. He would take 2 days for a 2,000-piece set and build it completely. Mm-hmm. Very, very smart. Knew all his ABCs by 4, started reading at 5, I didn't think there was anything, but he was very hyperactive, liked to make different noises, and he struggled with math concepts, and he would get very disoriented. So I knew there was something. I thought maybe it was auditory, because I didn't think it was ADHD at the time. I guess at that time I didn't want to kind of turn the other way. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to. He started kindergarten, and I put him in a 2-day. It was a charter school. It was very hard to get into it. So I started homeschooling so he could get into the 2-day program. And he was able to get into the 2-day program mid-year. So all of the kids already in kindergarten, all of the kids already had their friends. So when he got there, nobody wanted to hang out with him. Oh, yeah. And his first day there, he stayed behind when everybody came out at the end of the day, because he wanted to go back to the playground to find his friends, because nobody wanted to play with him, and he wanted to find more friends. He struggled with the friendship part of it, so I made a decision to move him, and then I did a lot of play dates myself. I went in Facebook and I started advertising play dates for first grade, and I started doing big play dates so he would have a chance to meet other kids and make friends before school started. And that worked out great, but he was still having problems because he couldn't focus. So there was this kid, Mason, I remember that told him, you can't play. He can play, but you can't, because you don't know how to play. He would get focused on whatever something. There was a butterfly and he would run after the butterfly. There was an anthill and he would be destroying the anthill. On his kindergarten graduation, the whole time he was playing, he was in this really cute suit and he was playing with an anthill the whole time. So all the other kids are paying attention and doing what they're supposed to, and Carl is the one that stood out where he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing.
It's amazing first grader already recognize that too. Wow.
Yeah. He wasn't struggling as far as school was concerned. He was the first one to learn all of his sight words. He did great.
He read really early too.
Yeah,
right?
he was reading really early. He did great, and it's interesting because there's a counselor that we met with several times that has ADHD, and he says, intelligence and ADHD don't correlate. You can have high intelligence and have ADHD, or you can have low intelligence and have ADHD. And I think that's where we didn't think there was neurodiverse, because we thought, well, he's able to do this and he's able to do that. And he's one of his teachers in first grade would get really frustrated with him, and Carl would tell me as soon as he came out, she's just talking really loud to me, and she's breathing hard when she's not, when I don't do what she tells me to do. They were copying from the blackboard to there, and he would get only 2 words in where everybody else had gotten 3 sentences in. And one of the things he figured out was that he would get lost from one line to the other. It would mix for him. So he figured out that if he erased the top one that he had already written, he figured that out on his own. So we made that as an accommodation, where he had a little paper and he was erasing, so he could, and I didn't know this at the time, and this is a pattern that you see, I think with in parenting in general, and more so for neurodiverse kids, that some of the things, they just take longer to be able, it is very natural for their eyesight not to be able to focus in lines. Very, very natural for them at that age. And just like you see, there was this post online about a hand, and the hand grew, but the skeleton hadn't grown. And they're showing you a kid that's writing and a kid that's not writing yet. And it is, every kid develops at a different stage. Yes, most of them might get it by 7, but that doesn't mean all of them. And that doesn't mean they are neurodiverse or have anything. It's just that we're human. We all develop at different stages.
Even the puberty comes different.
Everything comes different, and we don't realize it. So we think all kids are writing now, all kids are reading now, all kids are being able to read from one line to the other, whereas he couldn't yet. And that's not a pattern that continued. He's able to read perfectly fine now and be able to copy without having to erase the top line. That's something that he outgrew. But that's because we try to put them into this little blocks where it says they need to meet this by this time. All the other kids are meeting it and he's not. And you're like, how can he not be me? He's behind. I don't want him to be behind.
But
and it's not, they're not, and that parenting class that we went to, the instructor said, don't worry about potty training. There's one thing that I can't stand is where people get so focused on potty training. He says, I promise you, by the time they're in college, they're going to be potty trained. He says, it's not, there's this race to get them there, and you make them actually scared of it, and they go backwards instead of forward. They're going to tell you when they're ready. Don't worry if it's at 2, don't worry if it's at 3, don't worry if it's at 4. You have to let them grow into it without them feeling like there's something wrong with them. When you start acting like there's something wrong with them, they're going to feel it. Actually, that teacher that was not so nice to him, I decided to volunteer in the class because I didn't feel, after talking to her, I didn't feel comfortable that she was fixing what I felt was broken. So I got to see how Carl was acting in the class. I got to see how he would get dysregulated and start focusing on everything else but what he should focus on. I ended up homeschooling that year when he was in first grade because he had a bone cyst and he broke a bone in his arm. It was really skinny, so they had to do some surgeries, and I couldn't send him back to school because both of the times I did, he fell, and I had to take him back to get x-rays. So I decided I was going to homeschool the rest of the year, and the next year we moved to Tennessee. In the process of being in between Tennessee and California, I didn't want to put him in a school and then take him out, put him in a school based on what had happened in kindergarten. So I decided that first year we were going to homeschool, and then next year I was going to put him in public school. So since I was going to put him in public school and he had such a hard time with that teacher, I wanted to make sure he was protected. So his grandma, who was a district manager for schools with disabilities, talked to me about 504s and IEPs, and so I understood them a little bit, and I wanted to get him a 504. So I spoke with his pediatrician to do his testing and see if anything came up, and I remember meeting with a psychologist and telling him I'm not interested in medication. All I'm interested in is getting his testing done to see if I can get him a 504. So we moved here, did the testing. I was very determined. I was putting him back in school, and COVID hit.
Oh.
So everything shut down and everybody was homeschooling. So during that time, Carl was growing up. He was in second grade and going into third grade. I decided to try online public school. And there was so much work to be done, and it took a lot of time between on one-on-one trying to get that work done. Not because he didn't understand it, because he needed a lot of one-on-one. And once I figured out how much one-on-one he needed, because he would get so distracted so easily, I was hesitant about getting him back in school. So I tried a 2-day-a-week school after the pandemic ended. That was taking a long time, having to do the reading, having to do the writing, having to do all of it. Took a very long time to do. I finally settled on having a curriculum that was self-paced. So we would do the 5 hours, which is what's mandatory by the state. We would do the 5 hours, break it down into pieces, so he would not have too much, and that worked out really good. So I did that for, I want to say, almost 2 years. And once he started getting into his teenage years, he wanted something more normal, even though I did have him at a co-op, and he was getting to play with other kids, and we would do play dates, and we would do, he was socially exposed to social. He wanted something more. He wanted to be a normal kid in a normal school. And he asked to go back to school. I thought it would not last. That's what I thought when I put him in there. It was huge. It was not. It was weighing very heavy in my heart. I was not. He walked in there thinking he was super smart and just had a lot of I can do anything. I remember him saying something like, I can do anything I want as long as I put my mind to it. And then he walks in to his, I was very proud when I heard that. But he walked into the school and he realized he takes longer than most kids. He realized he doesn't know everything that all the kids do. He had this friend that was gifted. He watched the news and knew all about the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and he just very knowledgeable. And his friend made him feel like he was just not enough. And so he started having social anxiety, and suddenly he didn't think of himself the way that he usually. He started talking under his breath. His face would get really, any question. I mean, he always, and you know him, he's always been very easygoing, talking to all the neighbors, approaching whoever comes around, talking to them. And all of a sudden somebody would ask him a question, and his face would go down, and he started talking under his breath, and he started, and so I started him in counseling.
How long later, after he started public school, he changed like that?
Just a few months.
Wow.
I want to say 2-3 months. That's
the environment. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. It was a shock for him.
Yeah.
He wasn't expecting it, and he was comparing himself a lot. See, I never hid from him that he had ADHD. That's one thing I think he needed to understand, that he's a very smart boy, but his brain works different. And he needs to be able to adjust for that brain. I never hid from him that he was adopted, because this is the training that we got, was that it's important for them to always know. It's not, I always was very, age appropriate, but making sure that he understood this. So he knew that it was not easy for him to pay attention. He knew that it was hard for him to write because of his dysgraphia, which ADHD, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, they all go together, which is one of the things that I wish I knew at the beginning, but I didn't understand that. I didn't understand why he struggled so much with his, he grabbed the pencil the right way, he did everything he was supposed to do, but it was harder for him to write. It's not, right now he's typing everything because of his 504, and he writes wonderful when he types. His thoughts come out, and he can, it's...
So when Carl was having that transition, and you realize his voice changed, his confidence changed, right? Did you think about to pull him out from public school, or did you think about to quit?
He didn't want to. He was starting to have sleepovers with his friend. He was starting to, so he really loved that part of the social interaction, and he wanted to get better at it. So he didn't want to get out. And so we got a counselor, and we started taking him to counseling and focusing on social anxiety and building his, and he really did try. He went out there and he made a difference. At one point he had even stopped some of his gaming that he was doing because he was getting very socially anxious, and he just decided one day, I'm just gonna try. I'm gonna do it. And I think that's one of the things that Ingram Curry taught him. It's when I think you remember where he had we had him in Ingram Curry for the ADHD camp.
Yeah.
And
how many years did you do? Just 1 year?
2 years.
2 years. Okay.
We did 2 years. So the camp, they had a report card. The first week they would do just watching them and deciding what they needed to work on, and then after that, the next 5 weeks they would give us a report card, and in the report card they had points. They had to make 26 points to be able to get Fun Friday. And they had this amazing like water slides and all kinds of activities for Fun Friday. Well, if they didn't make Fun Friday, they had to sit down and watch the other kids have fun. And
that's very painful.
yes. So Carl didn't make Fun Friday the week before his birthday party. Oh, I remember that was the toughest thing. I felt at the
I bet you cried too.
When he didn't make Fun Friday, the director came and talked to me in my truck and said, you know, it only works if you bring him. You have to bring him. And my heart was like drenching, it was tight, and I thought, I have to bring him. I took him.
Did he say
Friday.
He didn't want to come?
He cried all the way there. He fell asleep before we got there. He fell asleep before we got to camp, and I went and parked the truck, and I went to talk to the director. And I said, he cried all the way here. I said, he's asleep right now. So I just wanted to come and talk to you because can you guys please go easy on him? I need him to be able to get through this, and I'm gonna drop him off, but I need your help here. And she says, I'll go talk to him, and I'll make sure that we have a conversation. And so I dropped him off, and she went by and emailed me later and said, hey, I had a really good conversation with him, and he was very determined that he was going to do better. So he had the weekend, we had his birthday party, and he struggled with that birthday party. He was so sleepy and very angry, and it was the only birthday party that I remember him struggling with. Because he was upset about the whole thing. He couldn't let it go, because he had to sit there with another kid, and all the other kids were playing, and he felt like he was the only odd one out. And but come Monday, I went to take him to camp again, and when he got down, he told me, Mommy, I'm never gonna miss a point again. When I went to go pick him up that day, every single counselor stopped by the truck telling me, Carl was just on fire today. High five, Carl. And usually you only get one counselor that comes and talks to you and gives you the report card. And every single counselor stopped by to give Carl a high five and tell me that Carl was just on fire today. And the first day of the next year, he was so in tune into what they were going to do that I had counselors tell me he has grown so much from last year, just because he was doing everything he was supposed to do. But it came from the place of, you remember Amber, I need to let her self-soothe and let her cry. It came from that. It came from where he struggled, and he felt it, and he wanted it, and he made that difference. And being able to show a kid with ADHD that has trouble starting things, have trouble staying with one thing, and being able to show him you can do it, because you made that decision, not because your mom made you, not because of you were the one that made that decision. That was huge for him. That is one thing that I can tell you he took out of that camp, and he's able to still live it when he knows that he wants something. That's awesome. Has to conquer, and he has to go, and I'm very thankful for what that showed him.
I remember someone said the reason the children cannot grow to develop their muscle just because the parents are selfish. They didn't want to go through that pain with the children, but the children need it. It is true, right? You watch Carl miss that Fun Friday right before his birthday. That's a big deal, right?
That was.
I'm pretty sure you were hurting way more than Carl. You still remember that pain today,
yes,
right?
I do. And he probably doesn't. You're right.
Yeah, but you remember.
No, I remember. I don't forget. My biggest fear was that he would struggle. He would struggle and he would fall behind. But I felt that if he didn't get the one-on-one, that he was going to fall behind. And I didn't want that to happen. So So I was very determined to be part of it, volunteer, get involved, make sure I met the teachers,
you pretty much
make
live
sure
in
that
school.
but it's funny, I don't need to anymore. It's the first year, yes, I needed to, and I was doing homework with him till late in the evening, and we were reading, I did things with him so he would be able to do that. And this year he was an honor roll all 4 quarters, and I did not have to sit with him, not once this year. He did
honor roll
absolutely
the whole year.
The whole year.
Wow.
That was amazing. That he got honored in the celebration at the end. There was 60 students, and 7 of them got honor roll all 4 quarters, and Carl was one of them.
Did you picture it when he started public school? Did you picture
Did I picture this? No. No, I was worried. I knew that, I know he's very smart, but I also know that it's very hard for him to do certain things, and it takes time. He needs time to process. And I know I didn't want that to affect his self-confidence, which it did, but we worked through it. He's got a lot of friends. He hangs out with them. He loves to talk, and he's back to where he used to be. So we were able to work through that, and not without struggle. I think one thing that is very important to say is that the same thing that I was talking about, that there's 74,000 parenting books, and they all tell you different things, that you have to know that the first person you meet might not be the right one. So we went through 3 different counselors that we switched from, but I think it's important to know that sticking with the right regimen, and I think if I had to do it all over again, I would just go with things that there's science behind them. Occupational therapy, counseling, it's optic test for the muscles, the eye muscles, trying all of those would be my first. I know that sometimes we don't get the best doctor or the best OT or the best, but working through that to know which one is the best. Remember, I told you that the first thing I told the psychiatrist was, I don't want medication. I just want to know if there's a diagnosis so I can get a 504. I was very determined not to put him on medication. And it was because I would hear a lot of the people just want to put their kids on medication, and if they're just being kids, boys just being boys, and you just need to work it out of their system. And I was listening to a lot of people that maybe didn't understand, didn't know. I was very determined, but just like you, I talked to a lot of people and get their opinions. One of them is Carl's grandma, and she had a daughter that had ADHD and ended up in drugs. And she told me if she had to do it all over again, that she would. The psychologist that did he says, I don't usually prescribe medication right off, but Carl's ADHD is pretty strong, and I am going to suggest that you do medication. We decided to try. We started with Guanfacine also. He gained a lot of weight. He was less impulsive, but it didn't help his focus. So then we tried some of the, there's the Ritalin-based ones, and there's the Adderall-based ones. So Adderall would be like Vyvanse, and those all do the same thing as Adderall does. It affects the same part of the brain as Adderall does. So we tried Vyvanse, we tried Adzenys, we tried we tried some of the Adderall base, and he was getting tics. He would switch. Which is, I know it doesn't affect you medically, but I think that it can really affect your self-confidence because you're the only one doing this. And
those are all stimulant medicine, right?
Yeah.
Beside it, guanfacine is non-stimulant.
Right. He got some hallucinations. At one point, he thought there was a bird behind him, and he threw himself on the floor.
Oh wow! That was the first medication he got.
Yes.
Okay.
He had hard crashes with Vyvanse. Xennies, oh boy, he started out great with that Xennies, and then he was having some
great means focus, good focus.
Yeah, good focus and very good social skills, and just very it was doing great. And all of a sudden he started having really bad anger issues to the point that he made 3 holes in the wall.
Wow.
And
that was
I remember,
part of a side effect too. Yeah.
Yes, and I asked him if he wanted an icy one day, and we got in the truck and we headed to go get an icy, and all of a sudden in the middle of the ride he starts kicking the front seat, and he's really angry, and he's screaming, and he's saying, I don't know why I feel like this, I don't know why I feel like this, and he's crying, he's angry, just kicking. And that was, Carl has always been really sweet and nice, and I had never seen that before. So I reached out to his pediatrician, and this is where you know your kids, and you have to believe in what you know, because the answer from the pediatrician was, you have to understand that at some point you're going to have to understand that impulsiveness with emotions is part of ADHD.
Wow.
And so he was basically, and I said, this is not my son. And I stopped it altogether. And as soon as I stopped it, everything went away. Doctors are very good, and my respect to doctors. They've gone through a lot of schooling, and they've done a lot to reach that their goal to become a doctor. But once they become a doctor, it's they have their own opinions, and they have their own ideas of what is and what's not. And it's good to understand that sometimes you might not have the right doctor for what your son, daughter is experiencing. And sometimes you can talk it through, and sometimes you can't. We still have the same doctor. I did have that conversation with him, and he saw the difference when it happened. And he is now very willing to try the different things and look at the feedback that he's getting from it. We tried so many in the Adderall, and then we switched. Do you remember
how many did you try?
Oh, I want to say 4 or 5, and then we switched to the Ritalin, which we did the Concerta, which is a slow release Ritalin, and he was doing good, but he was still losing a lot of weight, and I was concerned about stopping his growth. So then I switched it to the Ritalin, which is a fast release. So doing a 4-hour pill in the morning after breakfast, and then having lunch, and then doing one for the afternoon. And that really worked out great for a very long time. Until his counselor, the one that had ADHD, told me, you can only ask people to give 100% of the time for so long. Says, I think Ritalin is a very old medication, and he's in a very low dose. And I think that you really need to look at medication. So I had done the genetic pharma test on him, and it had the only one that it flagged was Strattera, and it says proceed with caution. But there was so much more in that report that scared me about serotonin levels and some different types of levels in there, that I wanted to understand the report completely. And I reached out to make an appointment with a genetic doctor so they would be able to explain it to me. And there was a little bit of back and forth. They made a mistake and sent me to a different genetic doctor, and then he rerouted me back to the right person. So I had to wait a few months before I could meet with them. But that was very eye-opening. So the genetic doctor actually focused on studies. They don't actually see patients. She came in with a pharmacist, and they explained the whole thing to me. And she tells me at the end, says, you know, I know it says proceed with caution on Strattera, but this is probably the best one for him. And if you want, I can send that as to why to your pediatrician. I sat on that and I didn't do anything for years. And when I had that conversation with the counselor, I thought, you know what? I've been thinking about that conversation, and I'm just gonna do it. And so we put him on Strattera, and this is the year from last year that he was struggling to this year to be in an honor roll, and it's so even kill. There's nothing. There's no
means no side effect.
He hasn't. Strattera comes with a lot of side effects. That's why a lot of people don't use it. But I followed all the research that I did. Give it to him at night. I had like ginger pops in case he got nausea or dry mouth and stuff like that. At the beginning of Strattera comes with side effects usually.
When I talked to pharmacist, he said give Strattera in the morning because it gives extra energy, but what you'd rather is giving at night to reduce the side effect.
Right. It will make you tired. It will make you have nausea feeling. It will make you, the nausea feeling in itself makes you tired. So
that's part of the side effect, right?
So all the research that I did, and I know pharmacists and doctors tell you morning, I did the night based on everything that I researched, and it has worked out amazing. It's so gradual, you hardly see. And
that's what your his psychologist recommended too.
Yeah.
Because he used it.
Right. So I did, the pediatrician told me to keep the Ritalin while Strattera set in, because it takes a while to set in. And we did, but then when I would take away Ritalin, he says I can focus just fine, even without the little pill, is what he calls the Ritalin. Even without the little pill, I do just fine. So right now he feels like he doesn't need it. He doesn't need that a little extra, and it has been gradual. That's finding this, and I hope it keeps working. Just because as Ennis was working and then it changed. But this is not a stimulant. And it has worked out great. You
said the Ritalin worked for him too.
Yes.
What is the reason you didn't pursue, increase the doses of Ritalin? I mean, that's most of the time where the doctors will recommend, right? It works, so you just increase to the next level.
So the conversation I had with the genetic doctor was always in the back of my mind. And Ritalin is, and that's one of the things the counselor said, that Ritalin was a very old drug and it's not very consistent. So if you need him to focus, you give him a 4-hour pill, and then it's all gone it can be within 3 hours, 2 hours, or 5 hours. You don't know when it's out of his system. And then you have to give him another one. And Strattera is very consistent. And everything that I read says that it's very progressive too. So you feel like you accomplish more and more with time.
Similar to guanfacine to the impulsivity.
Yeah.
Right?
It's but it also has help with focus. So I would say that I'm very pro medication now, versus when I started I was very against it. Again, I didn't know a lot. He told me that he was really going to need it and to read about it, and that 80% of the people that were in jail was because of ADHD and impulsiveness, car accidents, and just a whole lot of things that he mentioned. I mean, I wish he had mentioned dysgraphia, dyscalculia. I didn't know where all of the symptoms were coming from. I wish he had mentioned sensory issues. And he gave me a very thorough things to follow, but all of this stuff I had to learn on my own. I had to learn on trying to figure out what's going on. I just think if I had to give one advice for when you learn about your child being neurodiverse, read a book. I recommend the one by Russell Barkley, How to Take Charge of ADHD and Parenting. That the introduction is amazing and it explains it very well. I think everybody's going to go down the route of first trying nutrition, I tried everything. I tried taking gluten away. I tried taking sugar away. I tried taking everything away and then adding it back in one by one, doing all the different supplements, doing all the I think it's important to understand that this is a medical condition. I think it's important to understand that your frontal cortex is not 100% developed up to that age, and it's important to understand that you do have to do like occupational therapy and stick with it. I wish I had. Looking back, there's so many I wish I had.
I have so many too.
That I didn't, and that I continued to change, and I continued. And there's something about being willing to change. You have to be willing to change and be willing to try things. But don't be in a hurry to jump from one to another. Stick to the proven things and keep going with it. There's so many things that they do for the kids with in the schools, like the special education schools, for kids with autism. Like they make them drink out of a straw so they can build that inside muscle so they can speak better. And none of us know this, and it's such a simple thing. I mean, I told this to my niece who has a almost 3-year-old now, and she, like Carl, started speaking very early. And this is something because Carl's grandma works in this and work with kids with autism and with Down syndrome and so we used one of her techniques and it worked. Yeah, it works.
Over the years, so, it didn't work right away, right?
Yeah,
but after
it's amazing.
Yeah, years later, you recognize it.
Yeah, Carl was saying 4 or 5 word sentences at 3 years old,
that's
which
amazing.
Every year you're supposed to put one word together right at that time. So they're supposed to be able to do 3, and people would get close to him and say, "You talk very well for a 3-year-old." Olivia now is talking very well for an almost 3-year-old. She is having full conversations, and I can guarantee you that was because she was working that muscle very early and was able, so she skipped her terrible twos because she's able to communicate. So sticking to things and understanding that they will work with time. If they make you do the crawling, if they make you do you just need to make sure you stick to it, and this is things that were researched, were tried, and are proven to work.